Wrestle Addict Radio HQ, representing kings of the rings to the fullest. King Rickie made the hot tag to Willie T, and out of nowhere like Randy is the queen bee. Kayfabe brother, 400 plus in the bag like money in the bank brother. See when they pod, it's the opposite of common. Look at the comments, crowned at a certified top 10. You heard? Kings of the Rings pod. Throw up a too sweet when you see the squad. Like a chop in a, I know you feel it. Kings of the Rings are the illest. Kings of the Rings are the illest. Kings of the Rings are the illest.
All right, folks, welcome everybody to another episode of King of the Ring podcast. I'm your host, King Rickie Slaygent Kae. Thank you guys for joining us, especially Boris over there right now. No
Willie do me time.
Willie T is off for the week for a very good reason that we cannot reveal just yet because we haven't got his blessing to reveal what that good news is. We'll do that in due time, or we'll wait for him to reveal it himself. But with me, for the first time we're doing an actual show together, just me and them. Slaygent Kae, Kayfabe, how are you?
Hello. I am here. Boris is here. Boris's Popeyes chicken sandwich is here.
Is that really like a toy Popeyes chicken sandwich?
Yes, please look. Please look, the chicken, the pickle, the bun.
You know, I already had dinner, and now I want
his mother.
Now I want a Popeyes chicken sandwich, and that's probably what the name of the episode is going to be called, Popeyes chicken sandwich.
I haven't had Popeyes in so long.
I haven't had Popeyes in a while, and there's one right by me, and I have like these coupons that I get in the mail for it all the time, and I just never use them.
I'm trying to like cut out fast food for the most part between now and the wedding.
Understandable. You gotta be fit.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
I just love food, so I can at least cut out the fast food.
I get it, and cook a little bit more. And all
that's what we've been doing. I like cooking. So instead, if I'm like craving something from like specific takeout places, I've been making it instead.
Fair enough. I don't know what this name is for, but I get it.
I have a running Google Doc of things I like from other places that I just make instead.
All right, Mr. Wildp, are you calling Boris one of the future World Tag Champions? Because I'd agree.
He is a little champion. I call him the tribal chief, and I am his advocate.
You know what? I can see that being an amazing Halloween fit for you.
Well, last year he was the Undertaker.
I remember that. He looked very Hasidic. I will say that.
He really did.
I remember that, but I was like, I know what we're going for, but
my little Jewish dog.
Yes, we are. All right. So all shenanigans aside, it's time for WWE to put in their shenanigans because over last week, WWE said, hey, remember that time when we said that we were going to bring WrestleMania 42 to New Orleans, and we're going to bring out The Rock in New Orleans to announce WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans? Yeah, we lied. News broke over the weekend that WrestleMania 42 is not going to be in New Orleans. WWE confirmed this, I think, Friday afternoon before SmackDown, saying that instead of WrestleMania 42 going to New Orleans, instead they restructured some stuff or whatever with the city of New Orleans, and now they're going to give them Money in the Bank in August of next year.
Ew. Money in the Bank in August?
Money in the Bank is going to be in August, presumably after SummerSlam. Yes.
That makes no sense.
Presumably after SummerSlam. Money in the Bank is going to be in August. I believe it's August 28th, 29th weekend. It's around the same time as Sir Charles' birthday. So end of August. They do still guarantee that at some point there is going to be a future WrestleMania in New Orleans. They have a working relationship with the city of New Orleans. I am assuming, yes, that is true, Taquan. Everything The Rock announces does not happen at all.
Remember when we went to Survivor Series expecting The Rock to show up and then he didn't? This is what that feels like.
Remember when the Rock turning John Cena heel was going to be like the biggest thing in wrestling history, and then it was absolutely nothing.
Mm, I'm trying to let it cook.
I'm off. I'm off the boat for
I
that
think
one.
I think they're using a slow cooker.
No, they don't have an idea. I can tell you right now, they don't. I love your optimism, but it's not there. It's not there at all. So so apparently, I think they're going to have some working partnership with New Orleans, like they have for Indianapolis, which they guaranteed a Rumble, which already happened, a SummerSlam, and a Mania in the near future. That was, obviously helped negotiated with Pat McAfee's influence and things of that nature. With that being said, officially, there is no location that WWE, again, or TKO or Endeavor, which however far up you want to go on the corporate ladder, there is no location that they have officially stated in a press release or whatever that where WrestleMania is going to be next year. The rumor is August in the Bayou is going to be nasty for Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
I did not think about that.
That's gonna be disgusting. Oh God.
Yeah, put the whole thing on the Nah Family good list. Yeah, that potentially, yes, we are good with that. The rumor is that WWE is potentially going to literally, pun intended, go double or nothing and return to Vegas next year.
No, I'm good on that. No thanks.
It is to be stated too that this is not something that is unfamiliar to WWE as a company, even before Endeavor and TKO. In the early stages of WrestleMania, we're talking about WrestleMania 4 and 5, WrestleMania 5 and 6. They did Atlantic City twice, 2 years in a row. So this is not an uncommon practice for them. They just haven't done it in almost 40 years at this point.
My problem with them doing this, doubling up with cities with Vegas, people complain so much about how expensive Mania was this year.
It was.
And it's going to be probably more expensive next year.
And because of how expensive it was, it had, on paper, from a financial standpoint, it was the most lucrative and most successful WrestleMania of all time.
But that's also not fair because they injected Mania weekend with so many bullshit ticketed events, like the fucking roast of WrestleMania and everything else. I don't remember all the other
after party stuff.
Yeah, the after party to the after party to the after party of WrestleMania.
Was it WrestleMania After Dark or something like that?
Yeah, they had so many functions, which sounds like a lot of fun, but that's a fucking drain on your wallet.
Yeah. It was a lot. I think they had you can do dinner with John Cena or something like that. There's a whole bunch of outwardly expensive stuff. The reason that a lot of people said that they might be going back to that Shaquan saying outside of memory. I mean, I remember when SummerSlam had residences at both the Staples and Barclays. Yes, because I was at every SummerSlam when they had a residency at the Barclays.
I loved the SummerSlam Barclays residency, but I feel like that's different. SummerSlam is not as big as Mania, and having a residency in Brooklyn, for example, not as much of a dream as Vegas.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking around it. Obviously wrestling is a business. Even AEW is a business, even though AEW is we're a professional wrestling company. You're still a business. And you're a television show as well, contrary to popular belief. There is a thinking that TKO, Endeavor, UFC in particular, in that whole conglomerate of companies and show companies at some points, most of UFC is based in Vegas. UFC's headquarters are in Vegas. UFC has pretty much owned Vegas with all their fight nights. So it would make sense that during the acquisition of UFC and WWE, they started consolidating. Because if you remember, last year, Battleground was at the UFC headquarters. So it makes sense to do that. I mean, I understand them wanting to come back more regularly to Vegas, which I get. There is a rotation of places that WWE comes back to for big events. MetLife Stadium in New York, New Jersey, the Superdome in New Orleans. I can see Vegas being in that rotation. I think what ticks people off is that it wasn't that WrestleMania's potentially may go back to Vegas. I think they're ticked off because WrestleMania this year wasn't that great.
No, Mania blew a little bit on top of being hella expensive and pricing out actual wrestling fans. Like, if you want to establish a Vegas residency, that's fine. Don't do that to WrestleMania. The part of the fun of WrestleMania is the diversity of location.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's one of the reasons that I travel still.
Yeah, like, I feel like so many people plan traveling and vacationing and seeing the country around going to WrestleMania.
That's how I've done it.
Like, yeah, I've only been to New York Mania so far, but I was preparing to suggest New Orleans WrestleMania as my honeymoon next year. I was like, I love New Orleans so much. I think about going back to New Orleans once a week, like at least.
Once a week? Jeez.
At least. I think about New Orleans all the time.
My goodness, Kae.
I loved New Orleans. I loved it so much. But I feel bad for wrestling fans if Vegas continues to be where Vegas continues to be where Mania is held. Like, it's not accessible to fans anymore, I feel like, at that point.
There's idea. I mean, there are a corporation, there are a business, so at one point it is going to be all about the money, like most businesses are. So there's a possibility that WrestleMania goes the way of UFC and just prices people out the wazoo, which I don't think that's the case just yet because I bought SummerSlam tickets and they weren't that bad. But WrestleMania is a whole different thing. And to your point, 2K, WrestleMania is a top 10 sports and entertainment event in the world. It rivals the Super Bowl, it rivals the Final Four. It rivals the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup, the World Cup. It is that big of a deal to the point where a Vegas residency wouldn't make sense, to be honest with you. Because like the Super Bowl, cities bid on WrestleMania because of the economic impact, upwards of like 175 to like $350 million for a week for that city economy, which is a huge deal. And I think they would be losing money if they didn't, do a bidding war from time to time. And I think it benefits everybody. I think it benefits the company. And from a financial standpoint, if you have cities trying to outbid you for Mania, I think it makes the most sense. So let's play a little game, Kae.
Okay.
Planning a trip to New Orleans. I know you. Us with you in New Orleans would have been a horrible time for you, probably. God, that would have been Jesus Christmas. I will tell you what, Mr. YLP, there will never be one in Denver because altitude. That's why. Altitude and Denver open air in April, probably not great for anybody. It's the reason it's called Mile High Stadium because it's a mile high. But the game I want to play with you, Kae, is name me some other cities that, if not Vegas, where do you think WrestleMania could show up next year? I have 5 in mind. I have a list of 5. One of them you're going to hate.
Okay.
Do you want me to start with my 5?
No. I think I would love to see London get Mania. Would love an international WrestleMania. I would love to. Selfishly, I would love a New York Mania, but we're not going to get that.
Not again.
I would love to see Mania. Where would I like to see Mania? I'm trying to think of like all the football stadiums. That's really how I'm trying to think about it. I'm like, where would I want? New Orleans is what I want, truly. I think that people want New Orleans.
We're all set for New Orleans.
I feel like it's too soon to go back to Texas. Like, it's
Texas
too soon to go back to Florida. Where wasn't Mania supposed to go to Indianapolis?
They're guaranteed one. They don't know when yet.
Okay. Who else could get a wrestling? I'm like trying to think of the fucking map. Atlanta would be fun. Atlanta would be fun. A Canadian Mania would be fun.
Yes, it would.
I think, but I don't think they'll do Canada because fuck Canada right now. No offense. It's just hard to get there. I don't know. If they went all out with a European Mania, if they didn't do London, I feel like a French WrestleMania would be really fun.
Jesus. That would be a wild time. Okay, you have most of my list.
Okay.
Most of I'll start with number 1. I'll go to number 5. I think the most likely, based on they already have a contract with them, is Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the most sense. They already have the contract in hand. They already did, from what we saw, a stellar job with Royal Rumble, especially with the things going around. Like, they renamed the streets. People got interactive maps when they were in the airport about what you can do and places to go. Blah blah blah. So I think Indianapolis is probably a good choice. It's my number 1 choice if they don't go back to Vegas. My number 2 is Atlanta, because WrestleMania 27 exists, or 28, and that was Snooki Mania, and that was a disaster. And they need redemption. I know how you feel about Snooki.
My faves and my faves. My worlds collided that day.
So we had Indianapolis, Atlanta, Toronto. As a person who has been in Toronto recently, or Toronto, sorry, not the T is silent. I'd be killed if someone heard me say that. Toronto has the perfect infrastructure for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that stadium's huge. My 4th would be, what is it? London, obviously. Because literally, like, I think the mayor of London, like, one of his campaign points is like, I'm going to bring WrestleMania to London.
I heard that too, actually.
And there was a picture of, like, him and Triple H and Tony Khan after he won and everything like that.
Hell yeah.
Mr. Wild P, stop living in a fantasy world. We're never going to the Tokyo Dome. You think New Japan would allow WrestleMania in the Tokyo Dome? You out of your mind.
I think the money would have to be really correct.
Yes, it is 27. Thank you, Taquan. And the last one, which no one's going to want, but I'd be interested to see how they pulled it off. Saudi Arabia.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
That's why it's number 5. I don't think they're going to do it.
I don't think they're going to do it. Yeah. By 2030, definitely.
Yeah, by the end of we're going to get International Mania by the end of the decade, I feel. There's nowhere place I can see them going.
I don't know. I feel like losing New Orleans really fucked everybody up.
It did. I know people who had already booked hotels.
Yeah, that's such a bummer.
And as a person who's been to Mania for New Orleans, the last time they were there, New Orleans is almost the perfect WrestleMania town.
As someone that's been to New Orleans but has not been to WrestleMania, I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Think of Bourbon Street littered with marks every night. There's a video. One of our Discord people. Have you ever seen the video that Smiley put on our Discord of me and Will and her on Bourbon Street, like hammered? Yeah, it's a crazy time. We were singing wrestling songs walking through Bourbon Street, like as a contingency of wrestling fans.
I love New Orleans. Like, even if I didn't go to Mania next year, watching it would have just made me so happy. It would have been fun.
Yeah, it would have been so much fun, but we're gonna have to wait to see where it's gonna be. Hopefully it's not Vegas, but who knows at this point. But let's move on.
What about Chicago?
Oof. No, they wouldn't do Chicago, not yet.
I mean, I would need Punk to like win the title at Chicago Mania, but like
they won't do Chicago because the Bear Stadium is open air stadium, and it's Chicago. It will still be cold around April.
When I went to Chicago in 2019, and I saw 75-degree weather one day and snow the next day.
That's why they won't go to Chicago.
It was crazy.
Yeah, Chicago's a fun town. It is the second city for a reason, though, but I did like Chicago.
Another city I think about all the time.
Yes, it's New York with space. That's how I explain Chicago to people.
I would agree.
That's really all it is. But here's some things that WWE did announce and confirm. They confirmed this during Saturday night's main event that, hey, we're bringing Saturday night's main event again to Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta's getting Saturday night's main event July 12th, and officially, remember when they thought we were going to Rhode Island for this? Evolution 2 is going to be the next day, July 13th at Atlanta, both in the State Farm Arena. Ticket pre-sale has started already. And Tickets will go on sale officially, I think this Wednesday. So when this live recording gets edited, tickets will already be on sale. For this combo tickets, at least for Saturday night's main event and Evolution at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta.
I want to go so bad.
So here's the thing they also announced with this as well, Kay. Not only is it Saturday night's main event that Saturday, because Saturday night's main event Evolution that Sunday, before Saturday night's main events in the afternoon from the famed Center Stage studio in Atlanta, where they used to film a lot of WCW, the Great American Bash by NXT is also going to be going on that day.
Wow, that's a busy weekend.
It gets even crazier.
Does it?
Saturday, July 12th, a little bit earlier in the day, is AEW's All In.
Stop.
Yes.
That's so much wrestling.
So technically, based on the timing of the events, again, just like we had last Sunday, AEW and NXT are going to be going head to head.
Wait, I have a question. Is this the AEW one that's in Texas?
Yes, this is All In Texas. This is the first time All In has ever been in Texas or ever been in the States, because All In was always at Wembley.
And
this is essentially their WrestleMania.
So what time is All In on?
It's going to be Saturday. They're doing it on a Saturday, July 12th.
At the same time as main event, though?
It's Great American Bash. It's going to be a little bit earlier.
Damn.
Yes. So on that Saturday, July 12th, you're going to have Great American Bash, All In, and Saturday night's main event. And then Evolution 2 stands on its own.
Damn.
So it's going to be an interesting little thing. You're contemplating traveling for Evolution to come on. Actually, so am I. So I'm considering it. There's no official plans yet for that, but it's a crazy thing. But like, there was rumor for Evolution 2. Evolution is a very near and dear PLE to the heart of KOTR, because that's what we met Kay.
Yeah.
And Kay just kind of
killing me that I cannot go to Georgia. But that's literally, I think, the only weekend this summer that I don't have something going on.
Really?
Yes.
Damn. Because I would have been like, if you were like willing to go, I'd be like, hey, Kay, you want to go? We can just stay at Charles's place.
Honestly, if I didn't have my batch, I have 2 concerts, 2 weddings, Pride, like wedding. I'll be in fucking wedding home stretch season by then. Like,
yeah,
I will need the weekend to be probably alone and watch wrestling. But I want to be there so bad. I need another chair.
Yeah, the tickets aren't the worst, but they're not the greatest either. I peeped a little bit today.
How much are they?
For decent, like mid-levels, like 200-ish.
Okay, not horrible.
And it's a combo ticket, so.
Oh, even better. The same seat both days.
Exactly. So the NXT from Center Stage, the Great American Bash, isn't part of his combo package.
That makes sense.
You know.
But that would be a sick deal.
Yeah, I know.
Like a bargain.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting how they set up Evolution, especially with all the women's titles they have now in Saturday night's main event, which was almost an all-female review, and everything. So we're going to see what goes on with that. But Saturday night's main event, Evolution, happening, Great American Bash. It's going to be a really, really crazy weekend. Before all that, 2 weeks prior to that is going to be Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. 2 or 3 weeks prior to that is Money in the Bank, which is next week. Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide. So WWE is loading up with a lot of shows in the summer from all the brands. And we can add AAA to that, because AAA is going to be part of Worlds Collide. So it's a lot of wrestling.
Dare I say a little too much wrestling?
Potentially.
I think we're crossing a line here, starting to cross the line here. There's a pay-per-view almost every weekend in the summer.
And it's not even including TNA, which is also going to be like a week after Evolution.
Oh no, I'm including TNA in my very busy summer and the very busy schedule of wrestling.
I have a TNA theory too, which we will get to in a little bit.
Oh, I can't wait.
I have a TNA theory, which is going to be built on.
But like, how are we supposed to go outside?
I don't go outside as it is. I'm actually kind of okay with this. I cook for a living. I don't cook for a living, but I cook now.
So. Like, you don't cook for a living at all.
No.
That's not your job.
Oh man, I really don't want to cook for a living. I don't want to be like Chef Boyardee or whatever.
Yes, Chef.
Anywho, moving on to Saturday night's main event, which happened over the weekend, which is obviously it was a 3. I thought this weekend was going to be like the biggest weekend of wrestling for the summer, but apparently I'm wrong. But Saturday night's main event occurred. The results of Saturday night's main event are going to be streaming right now. Are going to be on the bottom of our little ticker right here. We had Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker defeating CM Punk and Sami Zayn. Zelina Vega retained against Chelsea Green. John Cena in a very comical squash match beat R-Truth. Damian Priest defeated McIntyre in a steel cage. Jey Uso retained the world title, defeating Logan Paul. So, Kayfabe, what are your thoughts on Saturday night's main event?
I love being right is always my first thought. I think I had a perfect score for main event.
You might have. I got to double check. I know what the results are, which I'll reveal later.
I enjoyed main event. I thought the pacing was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I really can't remember anything else about it right now.
What I really liked about main event is that they really have gotten main event their own unique style. So like in the years since like WWE would just go like stage crazy, they've done minimal stage sets, but main event is so unique. It's a very narrow walkway. The entranceway is very narrow, but the camera angles they use, like CM Punk's entrance was
so cool.
Gorgeous, was like beautifully shot. Like coming from the ground, like he looked like a giant.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's singing his theme and everything. Like he looked huge. I love that setup. But he used the same setup for Raw, which I thought was really comical. I was like, wow, you guys are lazy.
Good for them, though.
Yeah.
It makes the Raw feel a little bit special.
It was special. It was unique looking. I really enjoyed kind of how it it panned out for them. Did you notice? I don't know if you picked up on this. Did you see the colors that Punk and Zayn were wearing?
The Palestine flag.
Yeah.
I'm so happy they wore that. I was shocked they were allowed to wear that, given the state of things.
Well, who knows? I mean, they seem to be a little bit more leeway with stuff. I was happy that Zelina and Chelsea actually had a match. It was about to be an all-male review for that show.
Yeah, I wasn't digging the testosterone of it all.
Do you know at all how Chelsea Green like busted her face?
No.
I still can't figure out when it happened.
I would have to rewatch it, I think.
Obviously, John Cena and R-Truth with I want that R-Truth Ron Cena shirt so badly.
Liv bought it.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm. She bought it during the show.
Amazing.
She pulled me and bought it in the middle of the pay-per-view.
I mean, I'm surprised John didn't break because I would have been on the floor crying, laughing.
I was on the floor crying, laughing. Match of the year.
Yeah, the one thing I did not enjoy about main events was I know John Cena's gimmick is I'm going to ruin wrestling, but it's such for somebody who's apparently as intelligent in the ring with ring psychology as John Cena claims he is, and people say that he is a really, really like bad heel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's the point. He's supposed to be like comically just like stereotypical bad heel, but it's so annoying.
I don't know. John Cena is one of those people that like I can't.
You just like because he came out in the freaking Buccaneers creamsicle BS.
Come on, that's like one of the most obscure things about me is that's my fucking favorite.
You're the only one who likes the Buccaneers creamsicle colored scheme.
It was my all-time fave as a kid, and John Cena, my childhood hero. poured one out. It was for me. It was very nice.
I'm gonna buy you a creamsicle jersey for your wedding.
That's the thing. I look horrible in orange. I wouldn't wear it because I thought about buying it, and I'm like, I don't like how I look in orange.
Put it in a frame or something, Kay.
No, that's the last thing I.
Listen, I tried. Also, did you hear when Jesse freaked out when Damian Priest just walked out of the steel cage?
No, I missed it, I guess.
Jesse the Body Ventura lost his ever-loving mind talking about how he thinks it's bogus that Damian Priest can just walk out of a steel cage.
Oh my God.
I was like, Jesse, you were around when these rules were made. Like, why are you so upset about this? It was really funny, but apparently that angle, giving the concerto and a slight Edge reference, was to write Drew McIntyre off of TV for a while.
Oh, he's taking a little break.
He is taking a little break. He was wrestling injured. He had a neck issue.
Ooh.
For a little bit, and then obviously the finish. I love how Jesse gets frustrated in modern wrestling. I do too, Jaquan. I do too. And then the finish, obviously, John Cena came out to ruin the title match, and then Cody returned for the save. And now we have, in true Money in the Bank fashion, a tag team match. Cena and Logan Paul, which is so gross.
Versus, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Versus Cody and Jey Uso, Money in the Bank. Announced we'll talk more about that later when we get to Money for the Marks next year. One of our bigger shows of the year.
Next year?
I mean, next week. Never mind. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry about that. You know what it was? It's
next year. And I'm like, did I miss Money of the Marks?
Yes, you've been in a simulation this entire time. Oh my God. Shit, that was Saturday night's main event for you. One of the other big events that we're going to go to very, very soon after this is also NXT. Oh, before we get to that, sorry about that. We have a new member of the Seth Rollins faction that is yet to be named. So the big question is, what do you name this faction of Seth Rollins, Breaker, Paul Heyman, and now my favorite thick boy in all of wrestling, Bronson Reed?
Oh my God, I'm so excited he's back. I think, what did I name them on Monday? The Monday Night Meat Mountain?
You did call them the Monday Night Meat Mountains.
I'm going to stick with the Monday Night Meat Mountain because that's what they are. Look at them. Monday night, the Monday Night Meat. Very
you know what gets
meaty.
me? Do you see Paul Heyman's face?
Let me zoom in.
He's in between.
It's so funny.
So Michael Cole on commentary called them a dangerous coalition.
Oh, is that going to be their name?
No, well, they haven't said anything. They didn't say anything on Raw. I like them rebranding themselves with Dangerous Alliance because that was one of Paul Heyman's staples in WCW. Mm-hmm. And the Dangerous Alliance has had a great track record of people who joined it, one of them being like Stone Cold Steve, the Twink and Bear connection. No, we're not going to call them that. No, Jaquan, we are not calling them that.
I support it. It is pride, just about.
I don't know what you call this because like they're joining members. Paul Heyman did a great promo, and things like that. And apparently CM Punk is all right because when Bronson Reed fell on him in the tsunami, like he let out a guttural like I'm in pain.
Yeah.
So luckily, painful. It did sound painful. So who knows what's going to be with this? I like where it's going. This clearly has like tag team champions and world champion, but not any of the mid-card champion.
Yeah, not yet. I'm sure they'll find one.
I still say we need Becky in this faction.
I agree. I want Becky. I think you guys mentioned Austin Theory last week.
Theory would be a good one too.
I like Theory, but I don't know if he's who I want. I'm trying to figure out who I would want instead.
They got to get him away from Grayson Waller at some point.
I agree. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see about that. So, this faction should be named hopefully by Money in the Bank. Who the hell knows? But moving on to Sunday night, NXT Battleground. occurred. And hold your horses. I know what you want to talk about. We're going to give out its own segment, Kay. What did you think of the rest of the Battleground card, which is going to be the results going on the bottom here? So Ruka defeated Kalani Jordan, retaining her North American title in a six-man tag. Hank and Tank and Josh Briggs defeated the Culling. Stacks defeated Tony D'Angelo. Stephanie McCare retained her title against Jordan Grace, which was a really, really nice match. Obafemi beat apparently Stephanie McCare's boyfriend, Miles Bourne, and the shock heard around the world, which we are going to talk about. So before that main event match, which is extremely surprising for a lot of reasons, what were your thoughts on this card, Kay?
I missed the Sol Ruka match. I missed the Tag Team Champions match. I'm going to be so real. I still don't know who Hank and Tank are, but I'll figure that out eventually.
You would like Hank and Tank if you got to know them. They're like what Heavy Machinery should have been.
NXT is something I'm like trying to actively watch more, but I like forget.
Well, because we're recording right now while NXT is going on.
If I remember Wednesday mornings, I watch it on like Wednesday mornings, but it's very hit or miss.
The CW app, you can just watch it for free the next day.
Oh, very good, very good.
Or CW.com or what have you.
I was so glad to see Tony D'Angelo lose because I hate him. I'm shocked Stephanie retained.
I'm not actually. Stephanie's the hottest thing in NXT.
I thought she was gonna drop and just go to Raw.
Nah, they already got Julia and Roxanne. They gotta let them go for a while.
What else?
I will say this: you have to go back and see.
But I have to definitely watch the beginning of the show.
I will say you go back and watch Sol Ruka versus Kalani. They were really fun.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Sol Ruka.
Sol Ruka's gimmick is she's a surfer chick.
Cute.
And she's very gymnastically inclined. Kalani Jordan was a former Division I gymnast at Michigan State University.
Okay.
And Sol Ruka has what is known as the Soul Snatcher. What
does that mean?
It's like, all right, so what she does, she runs up the turnbuckles, flips herself, and catches you in an RKO, in a cutter.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing in the world. You would love the Soul Snatcher.
I'll check her out.
Yeah, Sol Ruka's really, really fun. And things like that. I mean, the only thing I will say about this card is like if you could have taken out a 6-man tag, and you probably would have had a much more well-received card. I think Jordan Grace and Stephanie McCare put on a great match.
It was awesome.
Yeah, Stephanie McCare is too hot to take that title off of her, and also the Booker T reactions when she does the she wraps her legs around her opponent's neck. Yeah, she slams them to the ground.
I don't know the name of that move at this time. I just call it the ass.
Charlotte used to do it all the time.
Good for her.
But yeah. This is also very true.
To say about that woman. I'm so sorry.
Speaking of relationships, this is also very true. Sol Ruka and Tyler Bate go together.
Cute. That's very cute. Aww.
Yes. Congratulations to the big strong boy with that one. I thought Miles and Obafemi were going a little long in the tooth. However,
I agree. It was a long match.
They wanted to make Miles Bourne look strong in defeat.
And I think they proved that. Yeah. About Miles, anytime I'm too high,
he looks like Randy.
Yes,
he looks like Randy. Yes, everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. You're not alone.
So by the time I got home and was like settled into watching Battleground, I was like real stoned. So I was like looking at the screen and I'm like, why is 2009 Randy Orton in NXT?
He does look like 09 Randy.
Because he's specifically too skinny to look like Randy now. But I'm like, that's 09 Randy Orton.
Without a tan, yeah.
That's the boy that was on my notebooks in school.
Was he really?
Oh my God. All of my notebooks in high school had Randy, Jeff, Cena, Trips. Oh my God. I would print them out in the school computer lab and just
wait, was it Mud and Chops? Was it Mud and Chops Trips?
A little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, Taquan, really? Fought to that because do you know this about? I don't know if you heard it, but he is hard of hearing legally.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm. So he also talks a little bit less. He cuts a good promo, though.
He does. I'm glad that they, like... I feel like... I hope I don't get canceled for saying this.
No.
I feel like if Vince McMahon were in charge of WWE, he would end up getting treated like Timmy and Jimmy from South Park.
Probably. So they let, a couple weeks ago before Battleground, they let Miles Bourne cut a promo talking about how he's hard of hearing. Like, it became part of his babyface gimmick. It was really nice.
That, which is why I'm saying I'm glad that they are doing it in a respectful way.
Yeah, he was able to tell his own story.
Yes.
Which I thought was really good. So that's Battleground for you. I think it was a solid show. And then, the unthinkable happened. And we should have seen this coming, but there is a brand new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and they don't legally work for TNA. And his name is Trick Williams. Now, let's set the scene here. So, last week on the show, Will and I were talking about how it would be a giant shock if they did this because you have a working partnership with TNA, and why would you take their world title from them if you want to work with them? Because guess what, folks? AEW did that with Kenny Omega, and it was horrible for TNA.
Yeah.
Absolutely a disaster for TNA. And also, they just started as working partners, so why would you take their main title from them? And then the wrestling gods kind of started hinting that something was up, because on the NXT last week, the Go Home to NXT, you had a segment with Joe Hendry and Trick Williams, and Joe Hendry stood tall at the end of NXT. I was like, interesting. Later on that week in Brampton, Canada, TNA had their Under Siege event on Friday, and the main event was a tag match with Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian, with Trick Williams and somebody else, and Joe Hendry won.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, he looked tall 2 times in a week. That's not good. And then we didn't even talk about Mike Santana showing up, who's wrestling on NXT tonight. That's why your internet's doing so well, okay? And then right before the main event, they showed the president of TNA in the crowd before the main event, because the main event of the show was the TNA World Championship. The TNA World Championship main evented a WWE branded show, which is wild in and of itself. And then I think that's when I texted the group chat between Kane and Mance, and I said, the fix is in. It's happening tonight. Even though I had predicted against it, the fix was definitely it. All of this is not my fault. I did not predict this to happen. I just saw the writing on the wall. And I don't know what to think about this. My only theory, well, I have 2 theories. One I mentioned on the show last week. What if Slammiversary's not doing well? TNA's next big event is Slammiversary.
Oh, that makes sense. They need to sell tickets.
Mm-hmm. And having Trick coming in as the world champion means, what that just means to me, that it is going to be very WWE coded with Slammiversary.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that when we planned to go in the first place because of the partnership.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like wondering who the fuck's gonna be on this card.
I don't know either. I have a feeling Styles is going to show up in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah, I really liked that little the package they did with him narrating.
It was really good. I forgot Penta was a TNA World Champion. I think Kelly might show up. She just showed up on TNA TV over the weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
You're obviously going to get Nick Nemeth. Also, Oscar bait Dolph Ziggler will show up at the event.
Love him.
The Hardys will probably be there. So it's going to be a lot of ex-WWE people working in TNA under WWE, which brings me to my more controversial theory.
Oh, God. Let's hear it.
Is WWE about to purchase TNA?
Dude, don't even say that.
Listen.
No way.
When
in this economy, no.
You're talking TKO is a multi-billion-dollar organization. They have the money.
But why are we buying everyone?
Because that's what they do. I'm just saying it is a strong possibility. They already did the unthinkable with purchasing AAA. No one ever thought that would happen.
I feel like, yeah, but I don't know. I don't see them buying TNA, and I can't wait next week to come on the show and be like, "Well, I was wrong." My little clown makeup on. I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's looking very plausible. Like
It's feeling like it's giving global expansion to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't necessarily think we need that.
I don't think so either. I think the diversification of pro wrestling is what's making pro wrestling so good right now. Because
Like,
there's
what's
literally
wrong?
something for everybody.
Like, I like that that they're partnering with each other. Why does WWE need to own everyone? Like, why?
Because they want to kill the market. That's why. I will say this: if WWE purchases TNA, they will do more. They will do a better service to TNA than what AEW ever did with their partnership.
Oh, definitely.
Like I think when you compare, remember AEW purchased Ring of Honor, and essentially outside of like their weekly show, which you can't find anywhere on TV, they shelved them.
Mm-hmm.
They shelved them, and Ring of Honor people show up on AEW all the time, but you can never find a Ring of Honor show anywhere unless it's on like YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, I think if WWE purchases TNA, they will still have TNA be TNA and not, but it'll just be like, you know, WWE coded a little bit here and there. Just like how WWE purchased Evolve during the pandemic, which still breaks my heart, but now Evolve is back as kind of a pseudo developmental brand.
Yeah.
But they still have their own show on Tubi. They still do stuff for Evolve, and Evolve is its own thing. They even kept the freaking logo for the most part.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to that. Shine still goes on, by the way, but I think it's a possibility that TNA could be purchased. When WWE purchased WCW/ECW, they put those belts by hook or by crook on a lot of their WWE talent really quickly.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had the president of TNA show up and show his clearly disappointed face, like he did not look happy at the end of that. Either it's kayfabe, or if they just didn't tell him, or he knows something we don't. It is a strong possibility that that an acquisition could happen by WrestleMania next year.
That's so crazy.
Mm-hmm. You know, this is a good point that Mr. Wilby said. Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon, is the longest reigning champion in Ring of Honor history, and we haven't seen a whiff of any part of her reign. That's true. The last time we saw Athena, she lost to Mercedes Moné in the Owen Hart tournament, which is a good match, actually. It's a very, very good match. Because Mercedes does put on good matches. Speaking of AEW, AEW had their Double or Nothing pay-per-view this past Sunday. And I will say this, it was good. It was. Overall, it was a very, very very good show. The results are right here. Mercedes wins the Owen Hart tournament for the women, defeating Jamie Hayter, which opened the show, by the way.
Interesting.
Opening the show, it was really, really good. One of Mercedes' best matches. Mercedes getting even better as a wrestler in AEW.
That's awesome.
Jamie Hayter put on a better match than I expected her to put on. Their storytelling was great. And so now after Toni Storm beat Mina Shirakawa, and they shared a lovely female kiss at the end of the show, at the end of the match, because why not? Because it's Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. We are now getting at All In for the AEW Women's World Champion, the undefeated Mercedes Moné versus Timeless Toni Storm. And I would go to All In just for that.
Wow. That's such a good match.
I was like, the writing's on the wall. FTR defeated Nigel McGuinness and Sammy Guevara because that match had to happen. Ricochet defeated Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match because that was kind of wonky, but it worked. The Hurt Syndicate retained the AEW tag titles against the Sons of Texas, which was whoever. I forgot, but the Sons of Texas, actually, it's not Sammy Guevara in Nigel McGuinness' corner. Sorry, that was Daniel Garcia. My apologies for that. But it was Goldust and Sammy Guevara as the Sons of Texas. So I do apologize for the typo. But do you know how MJF is now officially a member of the Hurt Syndicate?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I haven't watched AEW in a minute. I tried to catch up and it wasn't working on HBO and I just never went back.
Oh, that
But
sucks.
yeah, I don't get it.
The
But
quality is pretty good.
I'm not understanding why MJF is in the Hurt Syndicate.
No
But
one
I'm
does.
not
The idea
confident.
is that
Okay.
MJF wants to use them as muscle so he can get his way back to the top of AEW.
Oh, that makes sense, I guess.
And the Hurt Syndicate kind of want to use him to boost their stock.
Also makes sense.
Yeah. You obviously Tony beat Mina Shirakawa. Speedball Mike Bailey and Okada went for the Continental Championship, and that was a really good match, actually. I was very surprised by that. And then you had the Don Callis family defeated Paragon, which is literally like Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roddy Strong. They're known as Paragon now. So it's Undisputed Era minus Bobby Fish. Yeah, that was a match. Two matches I really want to get to. Number one, Hangman Adam Page beat the golden boy of AEW, Will Ospreay, in the Owen Hart final.
I am shocked. Actually.
In a shocker to me as well. I mean, they put on a hell of a match. It main evented the show, which I have a critique about. I don't think it should have main evented, in my opinion.
What did you think was going to main event?
Anarchy. Yeah.
Where did that fall in the card?
It was the third to last match.
That's so weird.
Yeah. So they had this whole thing about, Will Ospreay's this golden child. Hangman Adam Page is talking about how he's trying to become a better person. He's like, I know I did some bad things in the past and now I'm better. They had a good story going with that. Mm-hmm. I just didn't expect Hangman Adam Page to beat Will Ospreay because now Hangman Adam Page gets to face Jon Moxley at All In for the AEW World Title. The World Title we haven't seen for months because Moxley keeps it in a freaking briefcase.
He's still doing that?
Yes, he's still part of the Death Riders. That's still a thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so my big thing with that is you paid Will Ospreay how much money to stay? Will Ospreay has been going like a maniac on his interviews talking about how AEW is so much better, being the spokesperson and all that stuff. And he's been your most highlighted wrestler in the past year or so. Same thing with Mercedes. Mercedes has not lost yet. She's been the TBS champion for over a year at this point. She hasn't lost a match at all. And Mercedes and Will Ospreay came in around the same time. You're telling me you're going to give it back to Hangman? And no offense to Hangman, I think he's a great character. I think he does well, but I thought the writing was on the walls. Like, it's Ospreay versus Mox, which Mox is very much all like anti-AEW and Ospreay's like pro-AEW. So I thought the story was naturally going to write itself. So it's kind of a shock to me where we're going to go with this. And what does Ospreay do at All In now? He's not getting the world title.
Yeah.
He's not getting...
That's just such a weird choice.
It's very, very weird. It is very, very weird. So I just like it's very interesting thing. And so the next thing I want to talk about is obviously Anarchy in the Arena, which I thought should have main evented. One, because once they got to the main event of Ospreay versus Hangman, the crowd was exhausted. They were excited, but they were exhausted. And I think like as much as creative as Anarchy in the Arena was, it would not be funny if Moxley beat Hangman at All In because that would be really annoying. That would be like John Cena kicking somebody in the balls to win the 17th world title. Oh wait, that already happened.
Anything's possible in the world of wrestling.
Anything is possible in the world of wrestling. Something should not be possible in a main event of your biggest show of the year. My thing with Anarchy in the Arena is that it's too much chaos for me.
Like that's fair.
The spots are creative, but when you have people fighting literally all over the arena and they had to do a four screen split screen to show you what everybody was doing, I can only imagine how annoying that is to watch in person.
Yeah.
How just like insane that is to watch in person. And all of that. And I don't understand how you watch that and still remain like intrigued by it, because then it's also just a giant spot fest a lot of the time. So like they'll focus on one thing and everybody else is kind of just like faking being on the floor or whatever, or being wiped out. I will say adding Willow Nightingale and Marina Shafir, the two first females ever in Anarchy in the Arena, was a fun twist. They didn't get a lot of highlights, but they were fun.
It's nice to see women doing something.
Yeah, it was cool. It was nice. Willow, I know, just re-signed with AEW to a pretty lucrative deal, so good for her.
Good for her.
But I think it was too chaotic. I started comparing it to, I was like, oh, this is what War Games would be if War Games didn't have a cage.
Yeah,
You know what?
I
I'm
get
just
that.
also, no matter where you go fight in the arena, because I think Joe and Mox like did fight outside of the arena for like 2 seconds. No matter what, you have to get the pinfall or submission in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
So why are you fighting all the way around like mad people, but you still have to go back to the ring? And I think for me too is that it's so chaotic because it's like, I get it's supposed to be anarchy and lawless and chaotic, but I think anarchy in the arena, as interesting of a match it was, could benefit from being a little bit more structured.
I get that.
And also because a lot of the times they're clearly setting up spots, so it takes away from the flow of the match.
Yeah, that's annoying too.
And also the Young Bucks coming out, because the Young Bucks' whole stick is like their heels and they're calling themselves the Founding Fathers, and they came out and wrestled in colonial gear. I was like, enough, guys.
Like, you mean like Alexander Hamilton garb?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
They had the Dapper Yapper Justin Roberts do a whole 6 years ago. AEW was founded by
Wow, I hate
the
that.
Young Bucks. Yeah, it was really annoying.
I love Hamilton and all, but like, no.
Yeah, the Young Bucks just really annoy me. They really annoy me a lot.
I used to love them. Now I'm like, I fucking can't with the Young Bucks anymore. Like, I truly
really
can't do. That's how I feel too.
Really cringe to me. And so, but overall, I think Double or Nothing is one of their better shows. I think where they put their matches could have been a little bit better, because after Anarchy in Arena and you've torn up all this stuff and all these spots are all over the place and there's chaos everywhere. How do you go back from that as a show? How do you go back to regular matches?
Yeah, it's hard.
And still be invested. Like I said, as invested as they were in Ospreay and Hangman, you can tell the crowd was kind of dead.
I feel like AEW pacing is often really strange.
It is very strange.
Like, I like going to AEW shows, but it's not always a consistent experience.
Yeah. And
like I feel like I get burnt out really quick.
Yeah, because every event for them is like a WrestleMania, and I think like you can't and that's also one of the things that annoy me about Ospreay and Hangman. It's like, all right, guys, you've done your finishers how many times? Let's get to the point. Let's get to the point, everybody. The older I get, the more I'm just like, you know what? We should protect finishers more.
Yeah.
Like if you hit a finisher, it should be over, unless like it's an extreme circumstance.
That's fair.
That's just kind of me. But I understand that sometimes AEW isn't for me. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought their stage setup was gorgeous. Like the way they set up their stage, it was really nice.
I will say.
It was really nice. And I understand why they booked Hangman and Ospreay last, because Mercedes and Jamie Hayter were first.
Yeah.
And I get that, but then you screw up Anarchy in the Arena.
Sure.
Like where do you put that chaotic match? Do you put it in the middle? Do you put it like, penultimate, which they almost did?
I feel like that would have been hard too.
Exactly.
Because
like
then you're
what do you
burnt
do?
out at the main event.
Yeah. The other thing that I don't know if you watched previous Anarchy in the Arenas, but a lot of the time they have a habit.
I did. I just don't remember them.
Where they play music through like the first 20 minutes of the match.
Oh yeah, I do remember that actually.
So,
I liked the music, but it took me out when the music stopped.
The music took me out of the match occurring. So they did that I forgot they played a very old school song. And then Kenny Omega, again, right as the match is starting, Kenny Omega takes the mic, stops the music, speaks to the crowd while people are fighting all around him. I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Like, is this an indie show, or are we doing like an actual pay-per-view?
Yeah.
And so they ended up playing Bodies, like Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
By Drowning Pool?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
3 times in a row.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, one time I get it.
That's a little weird.
I was like, guys, let's stop playing the song. Like, it was good. The crowd was into it, but I'm just like, again, that also leads to the chaos of again, like, how do you come back from that? Like, when you're like up next against them.
Yeah, I feel they just try to do so much, and I get that AEW likes being different than WWE, but they don't need to reinvent the wheel.
They're so bothered by WWE too. Like, Will Ospreay has been going off about how, oh, you know, AEW's roster will beat anybody in WWE's roster any day. We're so much better than them. Tony
Who
Khan mentioned
cares?
this pressure about like, oh, we're counter programming with us all the time, but it's not going to end up like Jim Crockett Promotions. The ending's going to be so much different. Like, shut up, Tony. Just focus on your brand.
Like, AEW's been a company for what? We're coming up 6 years now?
Over 6 years. The first All In was 6 years ago in 2019.
I don't think that they
Or
need
Double or
to
Nothing, sorry.
they don't need to compete that hard anymore.
They have technically, it was giving extra Mr. Wallaby. They have technically been around longer than WCW ever was.
And that's a great accomplishment, and they should be really proud of themselves, but that doesn't mean they have to continue being like, oh, fuck WWE.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to be something different than WWE, but that doesn't have to be your only selling point.
Yeah. I will say I do like their commentary a little bit better during matches because they focus more so on the match. Like Taz, Shivani's kind of just being Shivani as he always is. I forgot the guy with the mask. He's the main.
Excalibur.
Excalibur, yeah. Excalibur and Taz. Excalibur in particular is a great main announcer. He does really well.
I really like Excalibur a lot.
Yeah, he does really well. But that was Double or Nothing. It's fun. I would definitely have you check out some of the matches. We're gonna check out the matches. Check out Mercedes and Jamie. Check out Hangman and Ospreay. Oh, well, Hangman and Ospreay is really long.
Hell yeah, I'll look them up.
And if you want, Okada and Speedball Mike Bailey, really fun match. And then Anarchy in the Arena if you just want to see the chaos. I
love a good chaos moment, so I will definitely check that out.
If you want to get chaotic.
I love getting chaotic.
Excalibur is what holds the team together. That is very, very true, Mr. YLP. And with that being said, folks, we are officially at the end of the show this week.
Wow, look at us.
Yeah, there wasn't really much for us to talk about, especially because everything that we could talk about, we'll do next week when we do Money for the Marks.
I'm so excited it's Money in the Mark season already.
Yes, our seminal show, one of our bigger shows of the year. And also, before I forget, do you want to hear the results of a three event predictions for Memorial Day weekend?
I would. Let's hear it.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
The current Kings of the Rings podcast prediction leaderboard goes as this. In first place is Slaygent Kae with 53 points. Second place, Willie T with 52, and I am in third with 51. So it is a very, very narrow margin right now for
great.
Who's gonna it is it's gonna be interesting. With all the events going on over the summer, we're gonna have a lot more predictions to do. Because I do plan on us doing Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank next week. I
am very excited.
Even though we probably won't know half the people on the Worlds Collide card.
It's okay. We'll figure it out. What if we find a special guest that might know more than us?
With Lucha Libre, I don't know. And I don't know if Can Cross. I don't know why Can Cross is not in Money in the Bank. He may be soon. I don't know actually if we know a Lucha Libre expert.
I think let's reach out to the Discord. See if anyone can help us.
Maybe good for Taquan to come on for the first time ever. We owe him that.
I think that's a great idea.
He's out of school right now. Colleges have already gotten out. So maybe it's a good time to get Taquan back on there.
Yes.
So, okay, do you want to do the post show or nay? It's up to you. Post show a little bit. Yeah, it's 8:30.
A tiny bit.
Yeah, a tiny bit.
I'm just working on what I was showing you before.
Okay, that's where I hear all the clicking from. That makes sense. We can do all that, and we can BS and chop it up with everybody if you want to stay with us for the post show. But with that being said, I guess let's get to the post show. Let's get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 408. So eloquently named something that I forgot, and I'll figure it out later. You can follow me at Ambassador Biggs across all social media outlets, BIGZ, Ambassador Biggs. Find Kings of the Rings podcast at KOTR_podcast across all platforms. Like, share, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. The links to all of that are in the description below. If you're listening to us, make sure you're listening to us on Wrestle Addict Radio, the cure from a common wrestling podcast, and follow Wrestle Addict Radio socials at addict_wrestle on Twitter and at Wrestle Addict Radio, all one word everywhere else. Kayfabe, what do you got for me?
Yeah, I'm hungry.
There we go.
I'm hungry. I'm ready for the post show.
That's what we're naming it. Popeyes chicken sandwich. Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Oh, yes, Popeyes chicken sandwich.
It's going to be Popeyes chicken sandwich. That's what it is.
You can find me lusting for Popeyes chicken on Instagram and TikTok at KAE_FABE.
Yes. When we come back next week, it's going to be Money for the Marks, one of our biggest events of the year. We may have a guest, we may not. Who the hell knows? We're going to do Money for the Marks, Money in the Bank preview show, AAA, NXT, Worlds Collide. TNA might be involved in Worlds Collide as well. And it's just going to be a crazy prediction show. And hopefully somebody will dethrone kayfabe at the end of that weekend. But until next week, oh, now you're invested, Jesus.
I'm winning? Yeah.
Until next week.
I love winning.
Goodbye. Good night. We'll see you soon. And maybe, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to bring Slack on next week because
I was asking you to suggest Slack.
Man, I don't know. Fuck you, Slack, though, until we figure it out. This has been a Wrestle Addict Radio branded podcast.